What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Jesse Spec YouTube video. This week we dive into part 2 of the complete list of things you need in order to execute perfectly a K-Swap into an MR2. So K-Swap is the Honda K20 or K24 engine. This case is going to be a K20 engine. So anyway, I'll be continuing the list of things you need to buy with their explanations and why you need to buy them in order to be able to do this. And anyway, without further ado, let's dive right into it. Join me. All right, let's get started. So as you know, last week we walked through a 20-minute video of explaining you many different parts you need in order to execute a K20 swap in your MR2. I highly recommend you can click on the link above to take a look at part 1 before you go into part 2 today. Really important so you can understand exactly what you need, and there's a logical order to all of this. So make sure to watch it if you haven't yet. Do not close this window though. And anyway, let's dive into the next parts that you need for your K-Swap. Ready? Go! So now that we have the car, the engine in the car, the drive shafts, the electronics working, the engine should actually be already running. Exhaust is also on. That's maybe a little parenthesis on that. From an exhaust perspective, I have the swap header, as you can see, and I will probably fabricate an exhaust just to make things simple and do it a little bit on my own way. Also from an aerodynamic perspective, the Fujitsubo I had wasn't the most optimal one because I couldn't put a diffuser in the back so well, and I do want something coming out of the bumper in the middle. So that's something I'm going to be working on, seeing how I can improve that. So now that we have basically all of these things, engine running, coolant and everything, there are a few little major adaptations you have to do for the cooling hoses and everything. But basically the last two things that I want to show you is, first of all, Monkey Wrench Racing. They have a clutch hose kit that allows you to basically use the stock hydraulic system in the car and adapt it to the Honda engine and the transmission basically. So this is also a nice braided hose kit, and it makes it also plug and play. So as you can see, there are quite a few things that are plug and play. And finally, I basically got a Gates belt that allows you basically, because you have the air conditioning compressor that is on the engine, and I want to get rid of it because to save weight and have less things driven by the belt. So this is actually a shorter belt that allows you to just remove the compressor and run with this only, and it makes it actually a very nice plug and play solution of deleting the Aricon, which is anyway a good thing to do for a race car. And finally, there are two things that I did not receive yet. Is one hose adapter that I will probably order from MAP, and another thing that I have ordered as well is I'm debating still, do I get because the last thing, actually I said the engine would be running. That is not true because I didn't talk about the fuel arrival onto the engine. So in order to run the car, of course, you have to have the fuel system of the MR2 that sends fuel to the Honda engine. And of course that you could probably cut things and put clamps and everything. And I honestly like it when it's very well done and not too much cutting and adapting, and when it's, of course, when it's really necessary, no problem. But since there is something that exists, there is either a fuel rail that you can buy from MAP that has actually an adapter of the hose of the stock MR2, so you can plug it in and then you have a large fuel rail, which is also something maybe cool for the future. But that I'm not sure yet, or just simply the stock Honda fuel rail that is on the car. You have a hose that can adapt to both to the Toyota and the Honda fuel rail, basically the stock one, which is also another perspective. So I'm debating, should I thinking for the future and already put a larger fuel rail. And if I'd go turbo or whatever, I need more fuel. Now that I'm thinking about it, if I have an ethanol car, that is actually maybe a smart move, right? So maybe the fuel rail is the smarter thing, but I still want to think about it. And the last two things actually that I've already ordered that didn't come yet is due to my engine blow the last time. I will never ever make that a mistake again. I bought a true baffled oil sump from Moroso. I got the Ferrari one, basically the expensive one. So that is going to be coming in maybe actually even today. And the other thing I ordered is the RRC or RBC, I forget which one it is, intake manifold. So that is a major, the stock EP3 Euro intake manifold is a major restriction to power. So that's something I want to get out. It's also going to be a huge pain to change once the engine's in the car. So I actually bought the stock, I think it's the FD2 intake manifold, or the DC5 manifold is actually one of the best ones you can get for the K20 engine. So I've ordered both of these and they might actually be coming in today. So if they do, I'll be putting a little link, video of those as well. And those are really two things that aren't essential, but really important. You know, I want to make good horsepower, but I also want to have the reliability of a good baffled oil sump. So I didn't care. This time I just really need to get the best, because I don't want to waste time and break things again like I've done previously. And just, you know, it's history repeating itself, and human nature wanting to take shortcuts that are not necessary. Honestly, to anybody of you guys who wants to go on the circuit, seriously, I really think the baffled oil pan should be top priority on your order list. Yeah. So anyway, so that's roughly all the parts that I got. I hope these explanations help you. And now I'm gonna go do a brief financial rundown on how much everything costs compared to the whole 2ZZ swap, and let's compare these figures in a moment. Here we are a couple days later, and actually I got a few other parts that just came in, so let me just show you that. So here we go, a Honda part, the world famous RRC intake manifold by Honda. So this is an improved, it's basically the intake manifold, one of the most well-performing intake manifolds you can get for a K20. It's called the Honda RRC inlet manifold that is also on the FD2 K20 in Japan. So there are significant horsepower gains to be made just with this intake manifold. And to make the installation easy, I got from Tegiwa, very famous company as well, doing a lot of development for Honda parts and all that. Shout out to them for supporting me as well. They have the throttle body adapter plate that comes here basically on your intake manifold and allows you to use your throttle body after with that. So that's really cool. It's not an essential part for this swap. However, it's something that is really worth it because the gains will be significant. And that just adds one complexity to the whole thing, is the firewall will be really close on this side to the hitting against the manifold. So that's something I'm gonna have to probably bash the firewall in order to accommodate it so it doesn't hit against it under torque and load, etc. So very happy, looking forward to installing this. And let's get one more part that I got. Do you guys know what this is? Of course you do. That is a baffled Moroso oil pan for K20. I will never ever make that mistake again of not putting a baffled oil pan in any of my circuit cars. If you haven't seen my video about that, click up here and you will see what an awesome 2ZZ sounds like when it explodes and breaks under oil starvation. So really, if I were you, even if it's really expensive, go for a good one and never have this kind of problem, because I don't even wish that on my worst enemy, to be honest, because that really sucked to break the engine due to that kind of problem. So it comes with the instructions, and here you can see, let me just show you a little bit what it looks like. Nice baffled oil pan with lots of baffles inside that you can see like this, avoiding the oil to splash out of away from the pickup, basically oil pickup. And there are a couple of different inlets and outlets you can use for, I don't know, like putting a temperature sensor or a oil feed for a turbo or things like that. Very useful. So this is the other part I received. So let's now walk through the financials that are really painful. Okay, so before finishing this video, I think it's essential that we walk through the costs of what it represents to do a K20 swap. And I'm not even talking about a K24 here, just a K20, and how much it costed me to do this kind of swap. So let's walk through some financials, like I did with my last video that you can find up here as well, that tells you how much it costs to do a 2ZZ swap that I did last year. So basically, a full K20 swap kit, how I like to call it, is basically all the parts that I showed you today that are among the swap parts, that are, let's say, essentials and obligatory to be used in order to complete the swap successfully. Just in parts, excluding the link ECU, we're roughly at 3,000 Swiss francs. That's roughly 3,200 US dollars. That includes shipping until here, but there's no VAT included. So normally you would have to add 7.7% on top of that. I just ordered a couple of other parts that are typically the gasoline hose fitting that allows you to do a plug-and-play install from the Toyota into the Honda engine, basically fuel rail. So that I ordered that, and a couple of other little things for the cooling hoses, and that's another $222, which makes roughly a total of 3,400, I'd say, maybe give or take $3,500 to do the swap with all the parts. And those are only the essential swap parts, such as the mounts, the drive shafts, the harness for installation, etc. The swap header as well, I included that in, but as you can see, it gets really expensive very quickly. Just to give you a figure to remind you, the 2ZZ swap just in parts with $1,800. So it's roughly half the cost of what it costs to do a K20 swap. If you factor in the price of buying the car roughly costed 3,000 francs. That's like $3,200 as well, with the engine, working engine and transmission and all the harness and everything. That's another 3 grand. So just in parts here and the car, we're at 6.5 grand basically, if not more. Whereas the 2ZZ, I remember I could do the whole thing for under 5 grand. So, and that even included an Apexi Power FC ECU in it. And now you add on top the the link ECU without any sensors, anything, just the ECU. You're at another 1,400 euros without tax. I'd say that's like $1,500, something like that. So you add the 6.5 grand plus 1,500, that makes you go up to $8,000 for a full swap, and that does not include all the stock Honda parts I bought to refresh the engine, the Moroso oil pan, and this intake manifold as well, and a few other performance parts. So you can see like there's a huge difference in price in between both. I'd say it's safe to say it's at least twice as expensive as the 2ZZ swap. Will it make twice as much horsepower? That would be awesome, but let's be realistic here. It won't make that twice of the torque either. So this whole thing is getting me questioning if it's actually that interesting to do a K-swap or not, because it is pretty damn expensive compared to the 2ZZ swap. And the 2ZZ swap performed really amazingly. So anyway, let's not get discouraged, but if you're a K fan, you know that you need to spend at least 8 grand, and that doesn't include labor or anything. That is just parts and wanting to do things well with good oil pans, good intake manifolds. The header also, I got a good one. I didn't want to go PPE on the 2ZZ, so you can see that I did up the game a little bit, but I think it's safe to say that it's twice as expensive, to be honest, with the whole Honda tax going on and the K20 or K series tax going on. So anyway, I also did not include yet, and that was also in my previous video, I didn't do that, the clutch and the LSD that will be supplied by OSGken. Those are also expensive things, and LSD is over $1.5 grand, $1,500 at least, and the clutch also will be, depending on what I use, will be anything between 1,300 to 2,000 depending on all that. So I'm putting good stuff in my build. I don't want cheap stuff, I want good stuff that I also sell in my shop. So anyway, I hope this gives you a better insight on what is needed, so a full checklist of what you can buy and use to do your own K-swap, but it also gives you an idea financially in what kind of a mess you're getting yourself into. That's at least how I feel right now. But anyway, so thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope this brings some added value to all you guys watching. These videos take a lot of time to make and are expensive, as you can see, to get all the parts and everything, even though I'm the guy who's going to be enjoying the car after that. But if you like this kind of content, make sure to like it. If you can share it, that would make me so happy, because it would also help me get more reach. And the more people watch these videos, the more I feel encouraged to go even crazier and push things even more. I'm not one of these huge multi-million-dollar YouTubers. I'm a guy who does it for fun. But of course, if I get recognition from my viewers because you like this kind of content, then make sure to show your appreciation just by liking the video or sharing it or commenting also. By the way, I'm no expert in K-swaps. It's my first one, to be honest. So if you guys, some of you experts who've also hit me up on Facebook to give me tips, thank you so much. I'm thinking of one guy called Nick, I think, on Facebook. Thanks a lot for your help. And anyway, all you guys who've been helping me and giving me advice through Facebook, thank you so much. I appreciate your inputs. And without further ado, I'm gonna close this video and I will see you in the next one, where we start installing all these wonderful parts in my K20 and put it then into my MR2 Spyder. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.